Hello, everybody. Welcome back to ND Ice. I'm your host, David Trinka, alongside Ian Iverson, Lincoln Retzloff, and we're back with a Brad and the Boys tournament special. So we'd like to welcome on our special guest today, Brad Elliott Schlossman of the Grand Forks Herald. Welcome on, Brad.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so let's do quick re weekend weekend recaps for what we did since UND was off this weekend. Obviously, the selection show happened earlier today at 2 p.m. We're recording this on March 22nd. Late in the evening. So, Brad, you want to start with what you did this weekend or even this week?
Well, I watched as many hockey games as possible, trying to catch up on what was going on.
Right. Good time
Um,
to do it.
Flipped. I had some basketball on too. The the funny part is I never get. This is the first time in like 20 years I've got to watch the NCAA first weekend basketball tournament because I'm
Right.
always like, down at the X and there's so much hockey coverage going on. I can't keep my head above water. And I'm watching games and working on award stories and all that.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of weird. I was like, I can actually watch some of these games. This is
Right.
awesome. So I watched some basketball until hockey got going, then I switched over.
Very nice. Lincoln, you with us last week? What were you up to?
Yeah, just kind of hung out. This just watched. I watched a ton of basketball this weekend, and then obviously I was at my went to celebrate my girlfriend's brother's birthday, so I spent last night doing that, which is pretty fun.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, just pretty much watch basketball and then watch box. I'd say I didn't really watch a ton of the hockey games. There's more box score watching for that, but yeah, just
Sure.
keeping up with because it's been a fun weekend. It was a fun weekend.
Right. Ian, what about you, dude?
Yeah, I watched a lot of basketball. There's already been a couple classics. The
Hmm.
Kentucky Santa Clara game, for anybody listening, just a wild ending. I was watching that at work. I had a TV set up right behind me, and my boss is a little upset at me because I was kind of just sitting there watching the game, which I did. Um, Thankfully, it was a slow day, but yeah, I caught a little bit of the hockey games, kind of like Lincoln, just kind of box score watching and seeing what was happening, with all the crazy results of Thursday and Friday in the conferences, and seeing how that would shake out for the tournament.
Right.
But that's about it for me.
Nice. Yeah, think kind of all over the United States, work kind of takes a dip when this season comes around. Work efficiency, people are watching the games. So, yeah, for me, really did as much hockey watching as I could. I thought this was a good opportunity since UND wasn't playing. Just watched pretty much every game I could on Friday, all the semifinals. I was watching at work the early games in the afternoon, and then and deep into the night until I can't remember what the last game that ended that night was, but then Saturday went to Fargo. Same reason for Lincoln. I went to high school with his girlfriend's brother, so we were kind of doing the same thing. Got the Sioux Falls regional sh stuff figured out, and then watched some basketball and the rest of the games when we could, the ones that mattered and everything. So used on hockey.tv quite a bit. Uh, and then yeah, so Selection Sunday happened today. Found out really who UND was going to play, and kind of some shocking matchups. You'd think maybe. We'll just jump right into that honestly right now. I think maybe we thought Duluth was going to end up in the Sioux Falls regional. They didn't. Thought maybe Minnesota State. The NCAA committee would maybe favor driving distance over true seeding. They didn't do that. Obviously, it'd be really hard to put the two seed against the 13 seed, dropping them, putting the top four seed against the second seed in the tournament. Obviously, we'll let Brad kind of break it down here in a sec. But yeah, Brad, what kind of did you see? What did you think? The NCAA really not favoring attendance or anything like that this go around. What did you think? What did you see?
Yeah, I feel like the last couple ones, that's what they've done. I had wondered if they would, flip a couple of the seeds. I think I did think they would. I knew they had to flip some of the two threes because the natural seeding had an ECAC versus ECAC matchup first round, and I thought they would
Hmm.
use that kind of to maneuver Duluth into a driving trip. But They stuck with the seeding as much as they could, and I think in general that's a really good way to go about it. Um, and so I think I credit the committee for kind of having a process and sticking to it, and not, then you open up yourself to so many second guessing if you all of a sudden one year do this, the other year. They've really been pretty consistent the last few years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was a little shocked. I did not expect three East teams to be in Sioux Falls for sure, especially with all the heavy West teams this year. And then you had let's see, what was the actual complete bracket here for those wondering. Obviously, Michigan jumps into the tournament as the number one overall seed. They'll play uh the Atlantic hockey champion Bentley, and then in their regional, the two seed is Minnesota Duluth, and they'll play Penn State, the number
That'll
three
be a fun
in that
game.
regional. That'll be honestly like the best first round game, one of them at least. That one, when I saw that come up on the TV, my eyes kind of opened a little bit. That'll be a really tough matchup for both teams. That one's in Albany, New York. Uh, Going to Loveland, Colorado. Denver's the host of that one. They're the only team to get in. That's a host school. Western Michigan, the top seed in that bracket. They're the four overall seed. They'll play Minnesota State, a team that you thought maybe was going to end up in Sioux Falls. They'll go to Loveland, Colorado, and play the Broncos. Matchup that happened in the first round last year as well. And Minnesota State took them for a ride to the overtime thanks to uh, the whole team, but the heroics of Alex Tracy getting hot goalie, getting hot. And then Denver will play Cornell. Denver's a two seed. They're hosting, so they'll be in Loveland, and they'll host the number three seed in that bracket, which is Cornell, a matchup that's happened uh, before at 2023, I believe they lost. Cornell beat Denver in the first round, if I'm not wrong. Uh,
2023 or 2022, but yeah, they
mhm.
beat. I think Denver was the
Well,
third
2022
overall.
Denver won it, so it had to be 2023.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
then Cornell's had pretty good success in the first round the last couple of years. I think they won all three of the last first rounds they've been in the tournament since the season they didn't play. And then head into Sioux Falls, obviously North Dakota, the number two overall seed. They'll play Merrimack, the second to last team to get in. They're the Hockey East champion, the first time in their school's history that they are the Hockey East tournament champ. And then also in Sioux Falls, the two seed Providence will take on the three seed Quinnipiac. Providence is seventh in the NPI right now. Quinnipiac sits at 10th. And then heading to Worcester, Mass. It's in Massachusetts, correct? Worcester, Mass.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then Michigan, the third overall seed, will play there. They'll host UConn, the last at large to get in, right, Brad? And
Yep.
then Dartmouth will play Wisconsin. Dartmouth won the ECAC tournament. Wisconsin hasn't played for a couple weeks. What are some of the matchups here, guys, that stick out to you? Uh, if Which regionals are the hardest? Which one maybe is the easiest, if you can pick one? If anyone wants to start, maybe Brad.
Well, I think the Loveland regional looks fairly loaded.
Oh yeah.
Um, maybe just because I think back to last year, and that Minnesota State Western Michigan game was so good in the first round, and actually that was Michigan or Western Michigan's toughest game of the tournament.
Yeah.
Uh, they pushed them to overtime and really had lots of chances. So, I think that's a really good matchup. Cornell Denver should be an intriguing matchup out there. So Loveland's really interesting. Um, I think Sioux Falls is also quite interesting as well, because three of the four teams in the regional are conference champs in their regular season, not just like the playoffs, but obviously Merrimack won the playoffs. But you have throughout the whole season, the best team in Hockey East, best team in ECAC, and best team in NCHC in
Mm,
one bracket, and I think that makes that quite intriguing too. That probably doesn't happen a whole lot.
right. Yeah, that's a good take. Anyone got any other things to add there, Lincoln?
Yeah, I thought I think yeah, the bracket in general is just really interesting. I really think yeah, that Loveland, Colorado one is going to be Yeah, that I would not want to play there. That doesn't sound too fun, but I mean, I think I don't know. I hate the term. You can't really use the term upsets anymore because every year it happens where a four beats a one. But I'm curious who it's going to be. This is kind of a question I have for you guys. If there was a team to get upset out of the 3-1 seeds, who would it be? And like I said, we can't really consider anything an upset, but I don't know. It's a good bracket. It's loaded, and I'm excited for this to get going here.
Ian, you have anything you want to add to that before we maybe answer that question?
I'm excited for the Denver Cornell as well as the Duluth and Penn State. I think those are kind of givens.
Right.
Cornell obviously is coming off
I think Western Cato is
coach who
going to
had
be a great
just
one
coached
too.
forever. I think Schaefer was his name. He was there for like 40 years. So first year with a new coach, and they've obviously proven to run a good system. And as we've seen in the first round, almost every year they've been in it recently, they've knocked out a one seed. So um, that's gonna be a fun one. I Out of the one seeds, I would say to possibly lose.
Let's say
I mean, Western Michigan could obviously run into just a Tracy situation with Mankato. They don't have as high offensive firepower as they did last year, so I think it's going to be a little bit more of an even matchup than last year at least. But I think Michigan State and UConn is a sneaky one. UConn has been playing pretty good hockey, obviously just being in the Hockey's final and losing a close one to Merrimack, who was just piping hot. Um, I could see that happening. I mean, Michigan State obviously is coming into the tournament having done that last year. And so there's probably going to be a little bit of nerves around Augustine and his performance because at least that is how they've played the last month or two. They're going to need him to play really well in order to make it pretty far.
yeah, I think that Western Minnesota State one's going to be really interesting. I mean, both of those are familiar with each other from last year. Minnesota State looking for a little bit of revenge here as they head into the same matchup as last year. Yeah, Michigan State, UConn, and honestly, it's not going to be an easy game for North Dakota either. So, Brad, what do you think if you had to say which one would be the toughest matchup?
Oh, um, I just think Minnesota State is gonna. They just defend so well that they don't score a lot, but I just think that as Ian said, they lost a lot of their forwards from last year, and they lost a lot of skill up front. And I think everyone paid a lot of attention to that before the season. But no one really pointed out their top 4D all came back.
Hmm.
So they were already impossible to score on. Then they brought their top 4D back and Alex Tracy, and they can get into these 2-1 type games that, it just comes down to, a coin flip almost.
Could be
And
bounces,
those
lost
types of games are certainly scary.
for sure. Lincoln, do you want to answer that question too?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's the yeah, I wouldn't say the easy pick, but like yeah, I mean just the way Minnesota State plays, they're gonna give Western a run for their money. I am curious though. I know we haven't Michigan's just scoring at an unreal rate, and no one's
Yeah,
really been able to stop them. But Bentley was in this position last year with Boston College, playing a really good team, really good offense, and they almost beat them. So I mean, that's something I would imagine Michigan does beat Bentley, but I that's one to keep your eye on because you never really know what could happen up there. So
it's
I don't
one.
know. I think there's upset potential all over the board here.
It's one that you don't expect, but when they shock you, they shock you. So yeah, I mean, Bentley's going to be hungry. They had similar experience last year. A lot of their players are going to know what they need, how they need to play to keep it close. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, they don't have the same goaltender as last year. He played for Arizona State this year, correct?
Yeah.
Transferred into Arizona State. Uh, yeah, so definitely a crazy looking tournament this year. Going to be a lot of good hockey to watch.
I mean, another thing that's going to stand out is just the amount of great goaltending that's going to come out of this tournament.
Yep.
I mean, you have Augustine, you have Ivankovic, who's been really good for Michigan. You have obviously Gaon for Duluth. You have Sukinski, you have Spoonar, You have Johnny Hicks, who's just been on an absolute tear for
Yeah,
Denver. I mean, goaltending is really going to determine, I think, a lot of this tournament.
for sure. Yeah, we've seen it every year. You know, the team who has wins usually has a hot goalie, and you need a hot goalie to win or to keep games close. I mean, obviously, Matt Davis had an unbelievable run in 2024. He didn't really know if Denver was going to make a run in that tournament, and he kind of put him on their back, and he's the backbone of that team. That run, I think, let in maybe a goal and a half per game every game they played. So going to be having a hot goalie is gonna matter a lot in this tournament, and obviously we know that. So going to be interesting. But let's as we kind of narrow in on the Sioux Falls Regional, North Dakota, playing Merrimack. North Dakota's a number 2 in the NPI. Merrimack sits at 19. And the last time UND played a team from Massachusetts in the tournament, it was American International College in 2021, and UND kind of pummeled them. I think they went up 4-0 in the first period, if I'm not wrong. So not that they're going to do that again, but uh, something to look at a little bit. And then obviously Providence, Quinnipiac. That's the early game. I thought it was a little interesting that UND and Merrimack is the only game of the top seed that's not going to be playing first. Brad, is there any reasoning behind that? Do the teams get to decide when they get to play, or is it a TV thing?
Yeah, TV decides, and it doesn't really matter anymore because there's a day off in between.
Right,
I feel like if they were playing on back-to-back days, there would be more probably talk about what time the top seed plays, but doesn't, when there's a day between the games, it doesn't matter anymore.
right. And that real change came from a UND loss. So we'll see what happens this year. So kind of, yeah, narrowing in the Sioux Falls Regional, what are the expectations going into the Merrimack game? Obviously, Merrimack playing pretty hot right now. We talked a little bit about it before the pod started. Brad, you said the record has been really good since December. Only 6 losses,
I think they're 16-5-2 or
5.
something like that since the middle of December. Their power plays at 30% since the middle of this December. So basically, if you're like, why is this team, why'd they finish so low in Hockey East? Well, it was because the first 2 months of the season, they started poorly. The last 3 months now, they've been one of the top teams, probably in the country. Um, 16-5-1 is a pretty good run. What if they lost 3 times in like their last 16 games or something coming into the tournament? So
Right.
they've been playing quite well. The number one thing that stands out is their goaltender Max Lundgren, 6'5",
Big for
elite
him.
goaltender who's probably going to get an NHL contract at some point here. He's a difference maker and obviously was at the Hockey East tournament, but he's really been pretty good all year. And scouts have been talking about him for a while now. This is not something like that popped up at the Hockey East tournament. Like scouts have been going to watch him for a while. So he's really good. And then they have a few guys up front that are pretty dynamic. Parker Lalonde and Justin Gill were both on the all rookie team for Hockey East. I think they were both rookie of the year finalists. Trevor Hoskin he's a Calgary Flames pick. He's third or fourth round. I can't remember which one, but he went to Niagara for a year, and then he ended up transferring to Merrimack. And then Nick Pierre's pretty skilled player. He's from Hill Murray, so some fans around here might remember Nick Pierre from high school hockey. Kalen Fitzpatrick's another sophomore that's pretty good. So like those guys are the guys that kind of jump out to me. And I've actually watched a fair amount of Merrimack games this year just because they're fairly entertaining to watch. Um, and then on the flip side, if you're wondering how UND wins this game, it's by really getting pressure on their defensive core. Their defensive core will turn over pucks if you pressure them and play well. So for UND, what's the key? You need to get pucks into the D zone. You need to force them to make plays quickly. They can get up and score offensively. They do get elite goaltending, but if there's a way to beat them, it's try to force that decor into making turnovers.
Great take. Yeah. Uh, what do you think about the Providence Quinnipiac matchup? If you've done any searching into that,
Yeah, I mean that's a that's a really good matchup as well.
right?
Providence has been phenomenal in the second half of the year. Obviously the Jack Parsons coming in. Philip Svedbach's the goalie. The first
You
half
got
of the
hurt.
year, he gets hurt, and then all of a sudden they throw in Jack Parsons, and he just goes on an absolute heater and wins Hockey East. So um, they've got some forwards that are pretty skilled. Uh, some of them will, John Mustard will be very well known to UND staff. Matt's maybe had him in Waterloo. Um, Roger McQueen's had a great year
Right.
as what is he, 10 overall draft pick?
Yeah.
So he's pretty high
Anaheim.
end. They have a guy, forward named Kivioya. He's has NHL scouts looking at him. They have a lot of guys. The thing that surprised me is their decor is really young, and I kind of picked them like sixth in Hockey East because I was like, oh, that decor is too young, and I'm amazed at how well they've done with the young decor. So credit to them. And then Quinnipiac, I feel they're a little different this year than some of their past years, where their past years it was so hard to generate any offense on them. They weren't overly dynamic up front, but they were dynamic enough. And then they were just really hard, to generate anything off of. And they played in the offensive zone a lot. This team maybe is more dynamic than their past teams, but they also probably give up a little bit more. So you're seeing some higher scoring Quinnipiac games this year than you probably have. So just a little bit different style team.
I got you. Cool. Yeah, and one unique storyline, obviously, this year, North Dakota playing Merrimack. So Tyler Young from Merrimack played 3 years there, hopping in against his old team. I don't know if it was he on the team that made it a couple of years ago for Merrimack. I mean, he went away as a
Yeah.
freshman maybe that year. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so he has tournament experience. He's one of the guys on UND that has been in the tournament before, and he'll be facing his old team. Uh, a cool little storyline to watch in that first round. Uh, Another cool one. This is UND's first relatively local regional that they're playing in where it's going to be full capacity. You can assume that there's going to be a lot of UND fans there. Since 2017, it has not happened. Obviously, uh, the regional was hosted by UND in 2018 there. They did not make the tournament. Uh, that was when St. Cloud State lost to Air Force and Air Force lost to Duluth as they went on a run to the national championship. 2019, it was hosted in Fargo. St. Cloud State lost that time to AIC, and Denver came out of that one to go to the Frozen Four and lose to UMass. I think they lost to UMass in overtime, I believe, to go to the championship game that year. And then 2021, they had it in Fargo. UND did make it that year, but it was COVID, so they had maybe 30% capacity that year. That was still a good atmosphere to be a part of, but obviously not the real deal of having full capacity. UND hosted it again in 2023 in Fargo, did not make it that year. Uh, had a chance to make it to the regional in 2024 in Sioux Falls. They had to beat Omaha. Omaha ended up beating North Dakota, and due to the seeding of the tournament, Omaha would have been a 3 seed and UND been a 2, and you can't have interconference matchups in the first round, so UND got booted to the Maryland Heights regional. And then last year, UND hosted in Fargo again, but came up shy of the tournament. So the first time UND will have a pretty good, hopefully, home ice advantage in a semi local regional since 2017. Uh, so that leads to this question: what are UND's keys to winning in Sioux Falls? How does the crowd impact them? They've had success having a big capacity, obviously winning the regional in Fargo in 2015, and then they lost to BU in the regional in 2017 with an overtime goal that would count with the rules now today. Ended up changing them with the offside rule, where if you go offsides and the other team touches the puck in their defensive zone, it nullifies the offside call. So kind of want to get what your
That rule
guys' thoughts
changed back,
are.
by the way.
What's that? You got changed back?
That rule changed back again now. So
When did it get changed back
they
to?
changed it. Now they changed it back.
Oh
Which year did they do
gosh.
that?
What year?
Yeah, is it semi-recent or did it happen a couple years ago?
Like whenever the last cycle was. So was it a year or two ago?
Okay. I did not know that. That's good to know. So you and he's gonna have
Yeah.
to watch for offsides in the regional. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, what does it Sioux Falls having a home ice advantage? What does that mean for you and you? How does it affect their success? Anyone can start with that.
Yeah, I'll start with this. Well, first we got to see how many UND fans do get down there. That's the big thing. Obviously, can assume it'll be a good crowd, but I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, I think it'll influence it. It's better than playing in front of 500 fans in Worcester. That's for sure. It's
For
better
sure.
better experience for the student athletes. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, just for the guys, like they're just going to have to show up to play,
Yeah.
no matter how many people are there. And yeah, having that UND crowd, the band, that can boost you a lot, and it will help. But push comes to shove, like
Right.
you just got to bring your A game. Like we saw during the NCHC playoffs, having home ice really didn't matter all that much. So I mean, for
And
UND at least. So I mean, who knows?
yeah.
Well, what happens, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the product that's on the ice.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and it's a little weird with usually you'd see the regional out here have more Western teams in it, and every team that's in it besides UND is out east. So we'll see how that affects the attendance. Brad, it's also true that away road teams have had more success this year. Is that true?
Yeah. I think it's close to 500 either way. I mean, UND's record's been better on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think UND's um last road loss in regulation would have been at Clarkson,
Yeah, they're only
like the
one.
third week of the year.
That they're
They
only
lost
one.
in overtime at Duluth.
Mm-hmm. Lost
Um,
OT in Colorado College.
yep. So those are the two. So their road record's been pretty good. I mean, it's not really a home game.
Right.
It's in a building where they don't play ever.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Never played there
bus
yet.
for 5 hours. Um, some of the guys probably played there in the USHL, might be a little familiar with it, but it's certainly a new thing for most of that team. So kind of the crowd will be in their favor, yes, but
Right.
um, yeah,
Ian, you got anything to add to that?
Um, it sounds kind of odd to say this, but this is a rare instance where our UND squad really does not have a lot of playoff experience. I mean, we have some of the guys that played obviously 2 years ago in the regional semis against Michigan. But I mean, besides that, that's the only game of experience any of these guys really have in the NCAA tournament in the last, 3 years. Um, I mean, I trust the coaching staff. They're going to be fired up regardless. Everybody's fired up. It's playoffs. But I would say that's an advantage a team like Denver, or even a team like Western currently has over us is they've had a lot of playoff experience in the last couple of years, and especially those guys
Right.
that are now juniors or seniors. They've played 4 to 6 NCAA tourney games in the last 2 years, as opposed to our one. So it'll be an interesting thing. I mean, like you guys have said, I imagine that the crowd is gonna be 85-90% Sioux fans, but it's a matter of now it's an experience and how do the upperclassmen step up, and how do we kind of tighten up? We haven't been as pure and as sharp as we should have been the past couple weeks. And hoping that with these 11 days off in between games that we show up really sharp and ready to play.
Yeah, they have to, especially
although
playing. Here, go ahead, Brad.
although like the UND does not have a lot of tournament experience for sure. One of the things that will help is a couple of guys like Cole Reshny and Keaton Verhoff both played in the World Juniors. And
Right.
if you play in the World Juniors for Canada, that's such a pressure cooker up there. Like every game's under a magnifying glass. Everyone watches it up there. Like there is massive pressure on those guys. Like Emery and Zellers played at the World Juniors and played in an elimination game against Finland, and so um, those four guys have played this season in like some highly intense pressure games. Um, and frankly, they all four played pretty well. But like I think those experiences can help like an inexperienced team, guys that have never played there. It's like, yeah, these guys haven't, but hey, Reshny and Verhoff played in the under 18 gold medal game last April, and then they played in the World Juniors, and like they've played in a lot of big games. So I feel that sometimes can help teams that do lack experience, as you said, in the NCAA tournament, because most, unless you played in that game in Maryland Heights, and this team is turned over, like half the team's freshmen, so
Right.
most of the team won't even have a chance to play. But
Hmm.
yeah, you're right.
And it's got to happen at some point, all the new guys you have. And uh, yeah, so obviously against Duluth, Ollie Josephson got hurt. We talked a little bit about that last week. Kind of want to take just a quick look at what that looks like. How does it affect you in these lineup? How does it affect them going to the tournament? Obviously, Ollie Josephson has had a great year. He's plus 20-point scorer. Uh, UNE's got a handful of them, and he's one of them. He's a great center. Obviously, plays a hard game, a good two-way game. So, do you just slip in Jack Kernan? Obviously, Jack Kernan was sick for that game against Duluth. Does he just slide in there? Kind of what happens? Brad, do you want to start on that too? Or do you see them filling in Ollie Josephson's absence?
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. You know, Kernan's a center. He's played in that spot a little bit this year, especially when, Reshny was gone at the World Juniors, and you kind of bump up Ollie a line and put Kernan in there. And so, like, that seems to be the logical domino, assuming Josephson can't go, which sounds likely that he will not be able to play. Uh, then you putting, yeah, I would that just seems like a very easy solution to me.
And it
Hmm.
helps that UND has just been so deep this year. You talk about Ollie Josephson, that's 20-point score. So that's a good amount of scoring that you're losing from the lineup, but also Jack Kernan also has does he still have just 19 points? I mean, he's right behind him. He's right behind Ollie with the points there. So obviously we'll see how that works. Anyone want to add in anything to that?
Yeah, I think it helps that they've been able to they have guys available, and it does suck, having Ollie go out, because I do think that does kind of mess up a little bit of the dynamic and all. And he is a freshman, but we can't understate how much he has done for the team, especially yeah, being a freshman. Like it is crazy. But I think the good thing that I will say is UND, this team is was built for a situation like this. If someone comes out, you can slide someone in. We always
Plug and
heard the
play.
last few years about next man up mentality. I remember that was always preached, and yeah, they'd always slide someone in, but you could tell there was holes in the lineup. Luckily, with this team, you can't replace a guy like Ollie, but they're suited to do it. Like they're ready. Whoever they put in the lineup can play and will be able to make an impact, which I think is which is important too. So yeah.
Sweet. Anyone else anything else to add before we move on? Sweet. Yeah, looking at the way that they set up the regionals, I'm not trying to find any hidden meaning, but it'll kind of transition us into this next topic. Uh, talking about the NCAA team, Brad, you said that they've stayed consistent the last couple of years in terms of selecting and placing teams in different regionals. The NCAA did no favor to trying to save attendance uh, with having Minnesota State possibly being in Sioux Falls. That's a drivable distance, or Duluth even being in there. Like we've seen in Fargo the last couple of years have had a lot of local teams. So not trying to find a hidden meeting, but is the NCAA regional or the NCAA committee like, are they more interested in maybe trying to get down the attendance and then pushing towards having uh home site regionals? Brad, what do you think that would do, having home site regionals to the region to the NCAA tournament? Is that something that the NCAA should really push for?
Well, I don't think they're trying to bump down attendance so they
Right,
can
it's
do it
just
because
yeah,
if they wanted to do it, they would just do it
right.
because they have the power to change it. But I think they're just sticking straightly by seat, completely seating based, and they've done it for a few years now. So, um, yeah, I mean there are going to be attendance issues at this tournament. It's going to come up again. It's not going anywhere. The debate whether we should try out home site regionals because I'm just you're looking at some of these matchups and Providence versus Quinnipiac and Sioux Falls. The crowd's not going to be great for that one. Dartmouth and Wisconsin and Worcester, not sure how that will go. Um, even Minnesota State and Western in Colorado, that can be a tough one. So the debate will be right back there after the regionals because there are going to be some attendance issues. And if North Dakota does not beat Merrimack, it's going to be a disaster on Saturday in um, Sioux Falls.
Right. Anyone else got anything to add to the home site regionals
Yeah,
or anything like
Brad,
that?
how would you fix that then? Would you have one team host the entire thing, or would you do, I think I've heard you say this before,
Right.
like you'd separate like so it'd be like the nine would play the eight or something like that. Like how would you set up a home site regional NCAA tournament?
Yeah, you'd have the top eight host
Hmm.
essentially. So, um,
And then are those
yeah.
teams hopping on a
Uh,
plane the day after and going to the next place, or how does that work? The days between
no, I mean you
regionals?
do it different weekends. You do
Yeah.
first weekend and the next weekend you do the super regionals if you want to call it or region finals, and then go into the Frozen Four. You know, kind of maybe make use of that week off they have. So
Oh, I got
because
you. And then
if
they
you have
just
one team host four a four-team regional, you end up with the same problem. If the host team loses first round, nobody's going to be at the region championship game, and you're right back to the same issue.
right.
Doesn't fix it. So, um, yeah, that would be my theory. I think we should try it for a couple of years, and you know what? If it fails, then you can always go back to this. But
Right.
I think try it out. I
So
don't,
you're
I think they're. What's that?
so you're thinking they don't hold on. I don't know why Siri's trying to listen to me. Stop. Sorry guys. So you're thinking not extend the tournament another week, but fill in that weekend from the Frozen Four or the weekend between the Frozen Four and the regionals and just expanding it in terms of filling in the time. But the only thing that I don't the only the time I figured that they had the reason why they had the 2 week break was to give the host site time to brand everything and get merchandise rolling with the teams and stuff like that. I kind of figured that was the reason they had the 2 week break, but does that pose problems if they do move that way?
I mean, they do it for men's and women's basketball that way.
I guess, yeah. They do a 2 week break or they do it in 1 week.
No, they go right into they do they'll do the first two rounds this weekend, and the next weekend they do the Sweet
Semis and
16 and
final.
Elite Eight, and then the
Yep.
week after that they go right into the Final Four.
Okay.
So
There you go. All makes sense then. Uh, let's see. Let's look around, take a second and look around the country. We talked about it a little bit. Who's been good or surprising, and then who do you guys think is the hottest team going into the tournament? Let's start with Ian on, or whoever's ready, honestly, with who they think the hottest team in the tournament is right now.
Well, for me, it was going to be UMass.
Right.
I mean, their goalie is just unreal in my opinion. I think
He is
he should
very
be
good.
the guy that takes home the Richter. I mean, they started in January at like 42nd in the MPI and they ended up being 13th and then lost to Merrimack and dropped out of the tournament. But it's hard to ignore. I mean, Denver is obviously one of the hottest teams going in. I think they're on what, like a 13 game unbeaten streak.
12
Um,
0-1, I think. Yeah.
yeah, you have obviously Merrimack who's been tearing it up over in Hockey East. Um, and I mean, kind of all the one seeds have just been really great squads all year. I mean, Western struggled a little bit early, but I mean, since Thanksgiving, Christmas break, they've been lights out as well. So, what's
It's
fun
hard to pick
about
one.
yeah, I mean, what's fun about this year is with all the new CHL talent. I mean, like every team really does have a shot. I mean, I would say Bentley's gonna have a hard time against Michigan, but I mean, man, like all 20 of the top teams this year in MPI were pretty dang good squads. Um, but if I had to
Hmm.
say anybody going in that's very hot, Denver or Merrimack, I would say kind of tied. And then
Michigan too. They're really hot too. I'm
I
surprised
mean,
that they haven't been mentioned yet. I think they get
they've
ignored a
been
little
great all
bit,
year.
but Michigan is, I mean, they're right there
Yeah.
scoring. I mean, they had an insane third period against Ohio State to pull away and really uh, put Ohio State's season to rest. Yeah, for me, I'd say obviously Michigan's a hot team. Any of the teams that have won their tournament playoff are pretty hot. So you got to give credit to Michigan, obviously, and then Denver's really hot. Obviously with the backbone of Hicks, he's been so good, and then Merrimack with a good Cinderella story coming out of the Hockey East as the eighth seed. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily reflect them in the NPI being at 19, but they had a good weekend last weekend, and their goaltending has been phenomenal as of late. And then obviously you look at Dartmouth has had a couple great games. Had a scare against Princeton last night. Yeah. So what do you think, Brad?
In Denver's 13 game unbeaten streak, I think they're clearly
Right.
the hottest team entering the tournament. Um, yeah, I
You going with Denver? Sweet
mean that's
sauce.
pretty good
Tough
route
to play
there.
Carl in March.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
true.
mean,
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, Denver, Johnny Hicks in net like that. Yeah, they're probably the hottest team right now. Yeah, just keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, Denver's been phenomenal, and now they have home ice advantage in Loveland, Colorado. Obviously in a tough regional, but we'll see how they come out of it. Let's move to the individual player race in the Hobey Baker. Obviously, the top 10 finalists were announced. Only one goaltender and pretty forward heavy. I think it's only one goaltender and one defenseman in the whole thing. It's Eric Polkamp for Denver is the defenseman, and then you got Trey Augustine as the goaltender there, and then the rest are all forwards, if I'm not mistaken. Brad, you can correct me if I am wrong. I don't have the list in front of me, but a couple freshmen in there. Wittenbach's been really great for Quinnipiac all year. You got the Dartmouth leading goal scorer in the nation. You got Gavin McKenna's a shoe in there. He's had a good second half. So, what are you guys' thoughts on the Hobie top 10 and what do you really see in the hat trick? I mean, Brad, you're on that committee. I'm not sure when you guys get a vote or anything, but who are you looking at right now?
Yeah, I guess that's a good place to start because I don't think most people know how the process works. So now that we're down to 10, uh, we we will have a conference call after the regionals coming up here. And then we will debate the players and discuss them and share thoughts and have this discussion and then we'll go back and vote. And then when we go back and vote, that's the final vote. That's the one and only vote of the 10. And so when they announce the top three, they already know who won. They're just announcing who are the top three vote getters. But
Hmm.
when they announce the hat trick, there's not like another round of voting. Everyone know after the regional, it's done. And there's been like a couple. There's one year where I think there was a guy who it was pretty close vote, and then all of a sudden one of the guys absolutely went off in the Frozen Four who didn't win it, and everyone was like, "Well, he just scored all these goals in the semifinal. How did he not win it?" Well, because the voting was over after the regional. So with it being a wide open group this year, the regional can play a role. I think the MPI formula is like this objective formula that can oversee the entire season without having a recency bias. The Hobey voters are human, and they probably do have a little bit of a recency bias. So if they watch someone absolutely go off this weekend, that could probably help play a role.
Hmm.
Granted, last year I thought that's why Zeev Buyam was going to win the Hobey, because he had an awesome regional. Denver didn't give up any goals. He played a lot of minutes. He added offense. I was like, well, he just clinched it, and then he didn't end up winning it, which I was really, really surprised by.
Yeah,
And then the winner was a guy who got knocked out in the first round and did not score
right.
in the regional. So usually that I'm like, okay, well now I know who's winning, and they didn't. So I was shocked last year that Buyam did not win. But yeah, I mean this year, the one thing I'd say um, to watch a little bit, there are probably some good debates between Polkamp and Plant. There are probably some good debates between Wittenbach and Hayden Stavroff. So Wittenbach's, I think he's still the leading scorer in the country.
He is. Yep.
Wittenbach did not win Player of the Year in the ECAC. Hayden Stavroff won Player of the Year in the ECAC. And I think it's a steep hill to climb to win Hobey when you weren't your own league's best player. That I guarantee you that gets brought up on the call. If people are going to talk about Wittenbach, you're going to have people that say, well, the people in the ECAC voted Stavroff instead of Wittenbach. So I do think Wittenbach has a hill to climb. He has to have a huge regional to surpass Stavroff. And I think Stavroff's leading goal scorer in the country. So everyone's like, how is the leading point getter in the country not Player of the Year in their league? Well, the other guy leads it in goals, and he's
Right.
top 10 in the last 10 years for goals in college hockey, and five of the guys ahead of him all won Hobey. So, and he's from the Ivies where they play fewer games too, so he could have even more if they played a normal number of games.
Hmm.
And then Max Plant winning Player of the Year in the NCHC. If people are debating Plant and Polkamp, that's going to be brought up. So
That's a good point.
those are a couple notes as we head into the regional weekend.
Yeah, did you, I don't know if you want to share what you think what your hat trick would be right now. You don't have to, obviously, since you're on the committee. I don't know how you want to deal with that, but if you don't want to share, we can just go to Ian and Lincoln and I. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll probably do a deeper dive on Sunday, prepare for the call, and that's where I'm not looking at analytics, looking who they scored against. What roles did their coaches use them in? You know,
real dive.
I think Hughes is going to be a pretty good candidate. I think Plant's going to be a good candidate. It's not an easy one. So, but I'll pull back all those layers probably on Sunday after the regional and really dive into it.
We gotcha. Sweet. Lincoln, who wants to start here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a I'm just gonna make a guess here, and I think TJ Hughes might win it because what he came back for his senior year, Big Ten player of the year. I think that helps. He is on a loaded team, but I'm just gonna throw his name out there. I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the hat trick.
For sure. Yeah, I think
Gosh, it's weird because I mean Max Plant I think was leading the way the entire year, and his production slowed down a little bit, and he kind of I, he's still been playing good, but like I listened to your pod the other day, Zam's been the better Plant brother probably the last month or so. So that's interesting, and you're gonna have all the Gavin McKenna stuff and whatnot, which will be interesting. I don't see a way he ends up in the hat trick, especially being his just two-way game, and in my opinion, is just not that great. So,
right.
but I don't know. I mean, it's a wide open year, so
It
who
is
knows? Like it
for sure.
really could be anyone. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd say TJ Hughes is in that hat trick for me, and then I'd go. Oh, it's tough. It's so I don't have a list in front of me of the 10 guys, but I'd go maybe TJ Hughes. You could put Plant in there, and then it's so weird. Usually you throw in a goaltender, but there's just not that many goaltenders in the top 10. I think this is a year that they don't do that. Uh, and it doesn't always happen. I shouldn't have phrased it like that. Obviously, we had 2023 where you had Nyes, Cooley, and Fantilli. And there are plenty of other years where they had no goaltender in there. Obviously, since the Mike Richter Award became a thing in 2014. So I would probably put TJ Hughes in there for sure. And then, I don't know, I'd put Max Plant in there. And then you've made a really good point, Brad. It's hard to put Wittenbach in there if Stavarov is he didn't he won the ECAC Player of the Year. So I don't know. It's wide open. Ian, you got any thoughts right now?
I would say kind of the exact same as you. I think TJ Hughes and Max Plant are guys that I would say will be pretty comfortably in the hat trick. I think the third spot is where you start to get into the recency bias, like Brad said. I mean, if McKenna has a big region, obviously he's going to get thrown in there.
Yeah,
It's hard to
could
ignore his
happen for
second half
sure.
production. I know we've been kind of hating on him most of the year, but since the break and since he knocked that kid out, he's been pretty unbelievable. So he'll probably get thrown in there, Wittenbach, depending on how he does in the region.
Right.
I mean, even Augustine is a guy that, depending on how he does out there in Worcester, he could be a name that gets thrown in there as well. So I think, like we said, TJ Hughes is probably a lock for that. Max Payne, I would say, is probably a lock for that. But that third spot is really just going to be up to what goes on this weekend.
For sure. Anyone else got anything to add to the Hobie talk before we move on to some NCAA tournament picks? All right, move on to that. Before we get into, we'll kind of do our frozen, who our Frozen Four is. Brad, you can share your thoughts on ours because I imagine you want to save your picks for an article. Uh, we'll do Frozen Four picks. Who's going to make it out of each regional, and then you could pick a champion if you want, or just assign a championship game of get as close, narrow it down as you can if you have a thought, and then you can even name an MVP for the tournament as well. If you can, I mean that's a hard shoe in. But before we get into that, I made a spreadsheet off of memory last year after the Frozen Four concluded. Since the expansion or the conference realignment in 2014, I have everyone in I have everyone in the from the Frozen Fours in here, and then I have a list of the wins by conference. I shared this with you guys before we started the pod. I didn't share it with Brad because you hadn't been in here yet, but this is Frozen Four wins. So since 2014, the NCHC has 16 Frozen Four wins and 9 losses. The ECAC has 5 wins and 2 losses. Hockey East has 8 Frozen Four wins and 10 Frozen Four losses. The CCHA has 1 win and 2 losses. The Big Ten has 3 wins and 10 losses. So they're tied with the East for the most losses in the Frozen Four since 2014, including the 2014 year. NCHC obviously has 7 championships. ECAC has 2, Hockey East has 2, and the rest have none. Uh, Atlantic Hockey has 0 wins and 0 losses in the Frozen Four. Uh, so NCHC with by far the most championship wins, the third most losses. ECAC, the Hockey East has 4 losses in the championship. Big Ten has 3 losses, and then we don't have to go into the semifinal wins or losses, but that's the lineup here going into the Frozen Four. Uh, the from the record, I guess. But yeah, so looking at the bracket here, I don't know who wants to start. Who do you see making out of each bracket? I guess I can maybe go. I see obviously Michigan making it past Bentley. I think Duluth will give Penn State a run for their money. I think Penn State kind of just lets in too many goals. They don't play that well defensively. I think Duluth, we've talked about it before, has been a one-dimensional team at times in this season, but I think Duluth maybe probably gets past Penn State, and I'd still probably put Michigan over Duluth. It really all depends on how the goaltending shapes out for all those teams. So I'd say Michigan, and then making it out of Loveland. That's a really tough one to gander at. Uh, it's hard to bet against Carl in March. Uh, boy, I would maybe. It's hard to pick all one seeds. I'd maybe say Denver makes it out of that one. I'll go Michigan and Denver. I think I'm just gonna say UND makes it out of ours. Obviously, other team could, but I don't see. And this is pure, could be pure bias for me, but I think UND is the best team in that tournament. Uh, looking at the all the lineup, the all the way down, and then there's just not. I think Michigan State might make it through this year. Obviously, it's been talked about the last couple of years where you had them in maybe in the Frozen Four and they didn't make it, but uh, I think this year might be their year to make it in. And who wants to go next? If Brad, again, if you have any thoughts, throw them in wherever, interrupt us for sure. Who's next?
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm just gonna shake things up here and be interesting. I'm gonna pick Duluth to come out of that regional. They've been playing pretty good recently.
They have.
They obviously they beat UND here, and then they played Denver down to the wire, so they're
Yeah,
playing well. If Guyan performs, I think they can beat. I think they'll beat Michigan. That'll be a
sure.
fun game to watch if they end up playing. So I'll pick Duluth to come out. I'll have even more fun. We're
It's a
let's
tough
say
one.
I'm gonna say Cornell comes out of
It'd be sick.
because I feel
You've
like no
gotten
one's
close
yeah. Let's just have I'm gonna have some fun there. Say Cornell comes out and then
within a goal of the Frozen Four last three
yeah.
times.
They're close. They're kind of like Michigan State to where like it's like are they going to get there? It's like they're due to get there. So have some fun. Pick Cornell. Yeah, I'll probably pick Michigan
Cool.
State up top. Just because they've been just consistent all year long. Good. They're just a good rock solid team, and I think yeah they're the best team in their bracket. And then do I want to pick UND? I obviously want them to make it, but yeah, you know what? I'll pick UND. I think UND will come out. What this is one thing I kind of wanted to bring up too. I'll bring it up later actually, but yeah, I'll pick UND. So I'll do
Sure.
Cornell, Duluth, Michigan State, and UND.
Yeah, just jump in with what you're gonna say whenever you think the best time is. Ian, you go ahead though.
I like what Lincoln says about Duluth making it out of there. Michigan is kind of one of those Big Ten teams like Minnesota was a couple years ago, where just like offensively they're unreal. But if you can
Right.
get them on their heels, like the one that sticks out to me is Wisconsin and Michigan playing kind of early in the year. Wisconsin was able to put a lot of ozone pressure on Michigan, and they ended up folding and they got routed like 6-1. Um, and Duluth is one of those teams that at times will put Michigan on their heels. And that's territory that all year they have not been familiar with. And so to me, that's kind of why I'm not buying Michigan being totally legit. It's just I see a little bit of weakness there. Obviously, Ivan Kovic is very good. But when they've been put on their heels this year, they tend to not be the same Michigan team.
Right.
Loveland, it's hard not to go against Denver. I mean, if Carl's Carl's resume in the past 5 years is unbelievable. I mean, he's just by far the best coach in college hockey, looking strictly at success in playoffs, and so they've been phenomenal. Uh, I would say Michigan State, that Worcester matchup. I mean, Wisconsin has not played very well recently, and I don't think Dartmouth or UConn really have the depth to keep up with that Michigan State team. And then I would put North
Right.
Dakota. It's one of those situations where I feel like this is a year where North Dakota can either get absolutely hot goalied in the first round, and drop a close one, or I mean they make a pretty easy walk and show that they're dominant and get to the Frozen Four. So
Right.
I'll put UND.
Yeah, again, like the Duluth, Michigan one, I think it's hard to bet against Michigan right now, but also at the same time, like you guys said, I when I said earlier, it depends on the goaltending. I think obviously it could happen. Like Duluth, uh, Scott Sandlin has had a lot of experience coaching a team in March in the NCAA tournament. He's won 3 titles there, been to 4 title games. So definitely the experience there and even Michigan, they've had a lot of experience in the Frozen Four up until last year. They didn't make the tournament last year, but they were in the semifinals the 3 years prior to that in a row. So it's going to be interesting for sure. And then yeah, what do you think about all the picks we had there, Brad?
Yeah, I do like the Duluth ones just because they can play a really structured defensive style, and I think the
Right.
bracket there is perfect for that. Like going against the high flying skill teams, they are not going to like to play a really structured defensive team like Penn State and Michigan if that's who they end up playing. So Bentley can actually do that too, and Andy Jones likes to play a defensive style game. So I do like that. The other things I always try to like sometimes keep in the back of my mind when I do picks is that in the NCAA tournament, um, TV timeouts are longer than in the regular season because the games are on ESPN. And you can really, if you have a really good top line, you can probably roll them more than you do during the regular season because they have that extra rest. And that's really
Mm,
good for
that helps
Duluth.
with Duluth, yeah.
Michigan State they obviously have really good top end players, but Michigan State also has great depth. And so against UConn, I'm guessing they're going to see the Muldowney and Tattle line quite a bit. I'm guessing UConn just rolls that line a lot. I thought the Murtagh line was really good in Hockey East tournament for UConn as well. So um, it's that is one way it can switch. I mean, Duluth broke up the plant line. They kept the plants together, moved Shagabe to a different line. Do they put those guys back together? Scott Sandlin didn't seem to think it was a big deal that he um, changed that line because as he said, we can go back to it anytime we want. And they did it in January, and I think it lasted 10 minutes, and all of a sudden they were back together. So like he can quickly move those guys back together, and I'm guessing he will at times during these games, especially if they need a goal.
Right.
Maybe they put those guys together and roll them a lot, but that is one way the NCAA tournament can change. And the last time UND won the national championship, it had a team with a really good line that Brad Berry was able to use a lot, and
Right.
he did use that to his advantage. He played those guys a lot in the NCAA tournament. A little bit different setup this year for UND, which is more of a deep team, but yeah, it'll be
Hmm.
that probably does help Merrimack. They can narrow their lines a little bit easier, where UND would much rather be in a 4 line game.
Right. And one big thing about building off of that Albany regional with Duluth, Penn State is the most penalized team in the country, and Duluth has a
Yeah.
phenomenal power play. That's going to be really difficult for them. They're going to really have to stay disciplined going into that game, or it's going to catch up to them quick. And again, Penn State, like we said, has had trouble defending, and Duluth plays a really structured defense. They did it really well against North Dakota here in Grand Forks last weekend. Obviously, set up a really good perimeter and able to shut off lanes and just stop rebounds in front of the net. So yeah, Duluth's gonna have a Penn State's gonna have a really tough matchup there against Duluth in the first round. I would definitely not want to be in that one. I would be nervous going into that game if I'm Penn State for sure. Obviously, they do have the experience. Duluth hasn't been in the tournament for 3 years, and Penn State made the Frozen Four last year. That one was at a home ice spot for Penn State. They hosted the regional in I don't even what it was in Pennsylvania. I don't know
Allentown.
the town, Allentown, right?
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Anyone else got anything to add? Any MVPs in the Frozen? I guess that's really hard to predict. So we'll just move on to uh let's yeah. Merrimack preview is on the script here. This is I assume what Ian added in here. Uh Merrimack is 6-9 against ranked opponents this year. 3-9 excluding the conference tournament. That's a good stat. They're ninth. They have the ninth power play in the country, 21st penalty kill. They're second in the nation in blocking shots and 39th in faceoffs. Max Lundgren played every game in net this year. That is crazy. You don't see that very often. I can't remember if we talked about that before the pod or if it was actually in the pod, but Max Lundgren played every single game for Merrimack. Doesn't happen very often anymore, especially in college hockey. And then I think I don't know if it's the only other one is Slakinski, but he played every single minute for Western this year as well. And he started out the season a little bit rough, but is really locked in here at the down the stretch. Anyone got any
Yeah,
comments on that?
Lundgren's played every minute as well. He hasn't not only every game, he's played every
Yeah,
minute.
that's insane.
Yeah.
I do not know the last time UND has done that.
Yeah, and their backup goalie's pretty good too. They got Nils Wahlstrom from American International, and Wahlstrom was quite good there. And um, yeah, that was but Wahlstrom had a 920 save percentage his year there, and then he came over last year. So it's not like they just have bad goaltenders; they just like Max Lundgren that much.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of UND's keys for this tournament is, we talk about the goaltend. Spooner's gonna have to play out of his mind. Like it's gonna come down to, can he play, I don't know,
Right.
4 games in a row where he doesn't let in more than essentially 2 goals. That's gonna be the trick. But what I want to see UND do is, and Brad, I remember we talked about you talking about this at the last regional UND was in against Michigan. It was like we were just waiting for UND to just explode. It was like they were due for a bunch of goals. I want to see UND do that. All right. I know goaltending is really tightens up in the tournament and playing UND can play close games, but one of these games, depending on how far they go, I would like to see UND just put pucks in the back of the net. I think that would just be great for confidence and swagger. And like I said, you can run into a hot goalie and he can stop you. But I think that would just be like, what a way would that be to start the tournament if, say, UND puts up 5 up on Merrimack and beats them 5-1, 5-2. Like that would get the juices flowing for the fan base, the teams and stuff. So that's something I want to see. But then again, if things do get tight, this UND team is crafted to play in tight games and no more 3-on-3 overtime. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how UND fits in with that. I know they've had a lot of trouble playing 3-on-3 in the conference this year. Uh, I know Ohio State went terribly in 3-on-3 overtime and almost made the tournament because and people were wondering why they were so close with having they were 14 and like 6 games below 500. That was why North Dakota, a lot of their losses were in overtime. I want to say at least three. Maybe let's see, it was Duluth twice, CC once. Is that it? Is that all the
Western,
overtime? Who's that? What's that?
we lost to Western in overtime.
Right. Yeah, so UND, no more. It'll be interesting to see how they operate 5-on-5. I was hoping we were going to be able to tie it against Duluth and kind of see how that would work, being 5-on-5 overtime. UND, no experience at that yet this year. So, I mean, obviously, if you're a UND fan, you hope they don't have to go to overtime and win the game. But definitely with the tightening of the goaltending in this tournament, it's you're going to have to be able to be able to do that is play in overtime. It's inevitable almost. Uh, I'm running out of stuff here on the script. Is there anything people want to throw in there that we haven't talked about or wasn't scheduled to talk about here? Any of this is your time to bring anything up here. Didn't expect for us to roll through it that quickly. Anybody got anything? It's Brad. Brad's here now. Like this is the time to ask the questions. How are we? I don't know how I don't know, Brad. Sometimes you do research on ticket sales. Like, are you seeing anything with that? Have you done any research on that? I know it just happened today, so it's a little early. Anything on that?
Whatsoever. No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, people are excited about it, being able to go down there. I know a lot of people, I know people who are going to both games. I know a lot more who are hoping on UND being there on the Saturday and trying to make the trip. Uh, I mean, me and Lincoln will be down there for both games, or if UND wins, and they'll be down there for both games. Brad will obviously be there. Ian, you said you were maybe going if they won on the Thursday for the Saturday game. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, it depends on how much tickets are going to be, but I got some PTO for work I got to take later this year, and I would make it out to both. Um, but I don't know if I want to take the full 2 days off of work to get down there. But if we do win Thursday, I think I'll find a ticket and be in the building Saturday.
Right. Are there any teams we were surprised didn't get in? I mean, this is the first time since I want to say, I don't know if this is the correct year, 1980 maybe, that no Beanpot team has been in it may be later than that, that a no Beanpot team has been in the tournament, which would be BU, BC, Harvard, or Northeastern, all of which have had success in the last 10 years of in the tournament. Northeastern being the only one who hasn't made a Frozen Four in the last 10 years, or I don't think they've made it. I don't know if they've made it ever, honestly. And then Dartmouth, their first appearance in the tournament since 1980. That's a cool stat line for them to be in the tournament. Bentley obviously making their second appearance ever. Penn State hasn't been there very often. Honestly, if I'm a UND fan, just really happy we didn't have to play Augustana. That would have been a really interesting matchup. Uh, Anyone got any comments on any of that?
UMass was tough, I think,
Yeah,
just
it
because
was
all three CCHA teams are right there on the bubble right below them. So any sort of loss, screwed them over. And I guess props to them for doing so well in the second half. I mean, going from, 42nd in pairwise to 13th in 2 months is very impressive.
right.
Um, Kind of a bummer that they didn't make it in. I mean, Augustana, yeah, that was another one that, you know, these conference tournament games on the bubble are just so, so important. I mean, anything could change your fate, and we saw that with
hmm
multiple teams.
Yeah, taking a look at the bids by conference, the Big Ten able to get four teams in there. They were gonna maybe have a scare having Wisconsin out, possibly if things would have gone differently this weekend. But the Big Ten has four teams in the tournament this year, and NCHC has four. Atlantic Hockey has the one in Bentley. Hockey East able to get three in with Merrimack clinching their tournament championship. And then ECAC almost had four coming in, but they have three this year. And then CCHA only ending up with one in the tournament. So it'll be interesting. Uh, let's see here, the schedule. The Loveland and Albany regionals will be on Friday and Sunday, and then the Sioux Falls and Worcester regionals will be on Thursday and Saturday. Like we said before, UND is the only top seeded matchup that will be in the later game. They play at 7 or 7:30 Central Standard Time on Thursday, and then everyone else, I think Michigan State plays at like 1 o'clock on Thursday. So a lot of hockey. Try not to get caught at work watching that if you're getting in trouble watching the March Madness bracket. Keep it under wraps. Maybe put it on your phone, uh, in your lap. Do whatever you can to watch the games if that's what you want to do. But it should be a good tournament this year. It's always fun when UND's in it. It's been weird having them not in it every year. And then it's been a long time since UND has been in a Frozen Four. 2016's last time. I mean, I was in eighth grade. Lincoln, you were in sixth grade. And now you're about to graduate college before they've made it back. Something that I didn't think was going to happen for sure. And they've only been in a handful of regionals since then, too. So one NCAA win since that championship team, and it came in 2021 and against AIC. So hopefully they can get it done. Uh, I'll ask one last time, anything to add before we wrap this up here, fellas? Nothing at all? We're all good? Didn't have a vent line this week. I thought about it having the having people make comments on the regional matchups after the selection show, but I just didn't know if there's going to be enough time uh, because we're recording it on the same day. So, Brad, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. When are you guys recording the UND Hockey Pod and the College Hockey News podcast? And when do you think those will be up for the fans
I
listening?
need to figure out this in the morning.
Tomorrow?
I have to figure that out tomorrow. I'll
Oh, you'll
send
figure it
text.
out
So
in the
I'm
morning.
trying
Okay.
to got to line up when like all the press stuff is happening this week, and then
Right. You got to leave town early.
um, yeah, it's going to be a
Usually you
very
guys,
very short week.
right. Usually you guys would leave on Thursday, but you're leaving on Tuesday. You got media stuff to go down and do on Wednesday. And then, yeah, you talked about it a little bit before, trying to see what the practice, if there's open practices or not, any interviews you can do. So, thanks for coming on here. Best of luck to you in Sioux Falls. Hopefully, we get to see some good hockey. We know that the articles will always be good. But we'll say one last thanks to all of our listeners, wherever you are. If you're a returner, thank you for your constant support. And if you're new, welcome to ND Ice. We hope to see you back here. We will have an episode next week after the regionals. Uh, but again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.